Hi, this is Sara Levin, the Artful Inker. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I have 3 artistically inked cards to share with you. Let's get started with the creating. For this first simple stamping card, we're going to use the Artistically Inked stamp set. And I've got one of the basic white note cards from the note cards and envelopes and some scrap paper here. I'm going to start with my Calypso Coral ink and the large flower from Artistically Inked. And I'm just going to pat on some of that ink, and then we're going to start over here kind of in the corner. And I'm going to give that a hold and a rub all over to make sure that I'm getting all of that large surface onto my card. Okay, let's close up the Artistically Inked, the Calypso Coral. And then I used one of the coordinating dies to cut a mask. Now you can cut a mask by hand, and that will work just fine for simple stamping. And next I've got my Flirty Flamingo ink and the kind of round, I'm going to call it a rose, and we're going to add that down in here. And again, hold and rub all over. And I've got another mask for this piece, and I'm going to move my mask a moment. I like to have my mask offset just a little bit, so I want a little of that stamping showing down below. And I'm going to come in with Pear Pizzazz and add a pair of leaves. So let's stamp that on. I may have gotten a little carried away with the ink. And then let's bring my scrap paper over here, and we're going to add leaves right down in here. And then move that out of the way for the moment and come in with the Pale Papaya. And I want to ink up this large stamp with my Pale Papaya. And I'm going to stamp off since the ink pad is new. And then come right over, let's straighten this up, and stamp right in here. And of course we're stamping over top of our masks there. I just want a little light bit of that watercolory stamp in there. So let's take our masks off. Oops. And we'll add our sentiment. Actually, I think I want to add a second set of leaves. So let's put this mask back on and grab my Pear Pizzazz and those leaves again. And we're going to come up here with the leaves. And now we need to add our sentiment. And for that, I want the Calypso Coral again and my Stamparatus. So let's move all of this around. And I can't have placed my stamp before we started, since didn't know where I was going to end up with my Pale Papaya line here. So we're going to take a moment and situate thanks. So I've got a grid sheet that I use to line things up with, and we're going to move that right on out to the edge and pick that up. And then I'm going to do a test stamp with that first on the grid sheet to make sure that I'm straight. So ink that up with the Calypso Coral. That looks pretty good. So take that out of the way. Ink that up again. Okay, and there is our note card. Let me move this out of the way. And we're going to go ahead and stamp the envelope. So the note cards and envelopes come with envelopes, just as it says. And so I'm going to take this large stamp like here and ink down here in the corner. And then cover this up. And add a set of leaves to this so that they won't be in the way. So we're going to have the leaf come out the top. And there we have a little something on our envelope. Let me move this out of the way so we can take a good look at this. And you've got your note card and matching envelope ready to go. So let me clean up and we'll come back with the next card. For our second card, we're going to use the Artistically Inked bundle, and that means we'll be using the Artistically Inked stamp set and the artistic dies. When you purchase the bundle, which means both of these items together, then you get a 10% discount over purchasing them separately. You can find a link to my store in the description below, and please do use that if you're here in the US. So first we're going to take a piece of basic black that I've cut with a stitched rectangle die, and I'm just going to brush that with my embossing buddy and pull in my Stamparatus. Oops. And pop this into the corner here and put down a couple of magnets, and then I'm going to ink my sentiment with Versamark and then stamp. Just give that a good rub all over. Make sure we transfer the ink, and let's take this out of here. Oops, here we go. And put on some white embossing powder. Now you can find a 3-pack of the Basics embossing powder in my store. And you'll get the clear, black, and white Stampin' Emboss powder all in one. So I am going to use one of my water painters to clean this up right around here before I heat emboss. It's a little humid in my house today. So let's pop this back in the jar. And then while I'm over there working with my heat tool, I'm also going to die cut. So I've got a piece of basic white and then a same size piece of adhesive sheet here. And I'm just going to start by peeling the backing back. I'm showing you this in case you have not used the adhesive sheets. They're great for intricate dies. And then we'll just add this here and peel on down. And I'm just matching up. It doesn't have to be perfect because enough of our die cut will have adhesive on it. Okay, and then I'm going to use the large floral from the Artistic Dies to die cut this, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back with my heat embossed piece, and I wanted to share 2 tips while I'm thinking about it. One is particularly with dark cardstock, heat from behind, and that way you're not blowing any of the embossing powder around and you're less likely to end up with little flecks of embossing powder where you don't want it. The other is use a matching color Stampin' Blends. If you've got little dots out, in this case I've got the dark basic black and the bullet tip, and I'm just going to dot over that lightly, and those little stray flecks just disappear. So, okay, so next we use the artistic dies to cut this pretty little piece out of basic white. And because you're cutting an extra layer where I don't normally need a die brush even with an intricate die to get the pieces out, when you add the extra layer of the adhesive sheet, you may need the die brush. And that's an attachment for your Take Your Pick tool. One of those things I consider a basic in your card making tools. Let me just get this one last little bit out of here. Two last little bits, they pop right out. Okay, one more little bit of backing sheet, and then we're just going to turn this so that it all fits on our layer. Okay, give it a press down. I'm going to take my bone folder and just give it a little light rub all over. Okay, and then I want to add black Stampin' Dimensionals on the back. That way it won't show, the dimensionals won't show on our card base. And since I've just about finished this sheet, we're going to cut up these edge pieces. Absolutely no reason not to use them. And a couple more here. Okay, let's set that out of the way for just a moment and bring in our card base. It's a 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. Piece of basic black, and then I've got basic white in my hand that is 4 by 5 1/4, and let's just add that right in here, checking my sides, making sure I've got an even border all the way around, and then let's take our backing bits off here. Okay, and add this, and then I want just a little bit of embellishment, and so I have the Expressions in Ink ephemera pack that include these little adhesive back sequins that we're going to use. But let me show you the rest of the pack while I have you here. They are little die cut pieces, white on one side and gold foil on the other. And you get several of these in here with the frames and the leaves and berries. So nice little pack to work with. Let me set that back over there and grab my Take Your Pick tool. And we're just going to add these little sequins. Oops. Making sure I'm getting the adhesive to go with it. And I love these, that they have really no color to accent my card. Okay, and there we are with card number 2 in our Artistically Inked cards. I'll be back in a moment with another project. And for the third card, we're also going to use the Artistically Inked bundle, which is the Artistically Inked stamp set and the coordinating artistic dies. Again, when you purchase them as a bundle, you do receive a 10% discount. I have a piece of basic white here that is 4 by 5 1/4 and some scrap paper. And we're going to start with pale papaya and this watercolory stamp and create our background. And I love that you get the dark and the light tones in this stamp. And I'm just going to move it and turn it and to fill as much of this as possible. I'm going to come down here and then come back in with it turned this direction, and you get this great watercolory background effect, marbling maybe of a sort. And then I just want to come in along this edge, leaving as few white spaces as possible. Let's touch that again up here. Okay, let's close this up. Oh, got a big gap here, so let's ink this end again and come right in here and maybe touch right here as well. Okay, let's pop that out of the way and put this out of the way. And we're going to marble this with a little gold. And so to start that process, I'm going to use my multi-purpose glue and just, let's see if we get this started, just trace in some lines here where we'll be adding the gold. And I'm just trying to think ahead to where my design elements, other elements are going to be, so that this will have a chance to show in the finished piece. We want some, but not too much. I think we're going to call that it. So as you can see, they're just a few, or maybe you can't see, they're just that few little lines of glue on here. Now I'm going to set this aside to dry while we work on the next bit. So then I've got my another piece of basic white. We're going to go ahead and stamp the sentiment. I'm going to use Calypso Coral for that. Just making sure that I'm well inked, and since I'm going to die cut this, it doesn't matter whether I'm perfectly straight or not, but I did catch a little bit of a corner there, so I'm going to do that again and then use my thumb and clean up the edge of my stamp so that maybe we won't do that again. Better. Okay. Now let's take another piece of basic white, and I've got the large floral here, and ink that up in Calypso Coral. Make sure you rub all the way around so that all of that surface area has transferred. Okay. And pop this out of the way, and then grab my Flirty Flamingo, and I want some of this I'm going to call these, I don't know whether they're roses or begonias. Let's do another one. Okay, and close this, And then we want some leaves to go with all of that. And I have my pear pizzazz. And we'll do a pear that's stamped off, so we have some added texture. And let's see, can we go in here? We can, because it won't matter. That end won't show. Okay. So let me take these and die cut, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back with our die cut pieces. Here are our leaves. I've got some small white flowers here that we'll use in just a minute. And then the sentiment I cut with one of the tailor-made tags dies. You can find a size chart for these on my blog. And then we need to move back to our layer that we started with. The multi-purpose glue has had an opportunity to dry now, and then I'm going to take some of the gilded leafing and sprinkle on here. It won't take much. And let's close that a minute. And then I have a blending brush that I use just to help me get started. Okay. And then we're going to shake off the really excess bits at this point, and I'm going to sprinkle this back into my jar. I have a fan running in the house today off camera, and I don't want to blow this around. Okay, now we'll finish this up. So let's bring this back, and I'm going to use my sponge dauber here and just give this a really good burnish so that all of that's really adhered well to that multi-purpose glue, and then it knocks off any of the excess. Okay, so there's our little marbling bits. Give me just a moment to clear this up, and we'll move on to the next bit. Okay, so next I want to bring in these die cut flowers and leaves, and I've got alcohol in my spritzer, and I'm going to spritz the back of these and then give them kind of a crumple, and the alcohol dries quickly and these will hold a shape. So I'm squirting into my hand because I'm on camera. If I were just here in my craft space, I would spray off into the air. So let's okay. Let's do one of the leaves, and then I'll finish shaping these off camera. And just want to give these a little bit of texture and body as well. Okay, so I'll be back in just a moment. So two things about the alcohol. One is that it does dry quickly. The other is that it's less likely to make your ink run, particularly when you're spritzing on the back. So now I have my Stampin' Pierce mat and those little white die cut flowers, and I've got the ball end for my take your pick tool, and I'm just going to give these a little bit of a shape, mostly by just poking down in the center of these since they're small. This one, these two larger ones will give it a little bit of a round robin with the to help it shape. Okay, and then let's just put these out of the way. And my Stampin' Pierce mat is in a clear mount stamp case. You can find those in my Stampin' Up store. So let's start and put this card together. To assemble, we need our card base, which is thick basic white, and it's 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. Let's grab my dimensionals back here and add them to our marbled layer. Okay, pop those out of the way for just a moment. And let's straighten this up on our grid paper and add this layer. Okay, and I have my sentiment here that I'm going to put on dimensionals. Oops, the backing wants to come off and I'm not quite ready for that to happen. Okay, so we want to put that down here. And then I want to start and arrange some of my flowers. So I am going to put this flower on a dimensional to help hold it up further. And then just going to add glue to this base piece here. And kind of tuck it under the edge here and hold it for a moment. Okay, and then the same thing with this, a little bit of multi-purpose glue along the bottom. And let's see how turning this, I like this crinkled edge out. It's a little more interesting. And hold it for a moment. And now I'm going to adhere my sentiment. Now that I have it framed. Oops. And there we're straight. And then let's take this off the bottom. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. I want a little bit of this Simply Elegant trim. It comes in gold and silver, and we're going to use the gold, and I just want basically a figure 8 of it that sticks out just beyond this flower. And let's do this, and then grab a couple of mini glue dots on the back of it. I want to make sure all of my pieces are being held with the mini glue dots. And I'm just going to stick that right in here. Oops. And I did take my backing off. Okay, and we're sticking that in. Let's move this out of the way. And we're done with that. And now we need to tuck some leaves in. So I think some leaves up here will look great. And let's just fit some of these around before I put them, stick them all in. Make sure I'm evenly spaced around. And then, do you remember that Expressions in Ink ephemera pack that I showed before? So I'm going to use a couple pieces from that, these little berry pieces, and the berries with leaves. So I want to stick that right up in here. And where's my take your pick? I'm just going to use it to make sure that I have adhered the bottom of that. Okay, and then I want to adhere this piece right in here. And again, I'm going to reach in with my take your pick, and I'd like to put both of these in down at the bottom. Let's do some multi-purpose glue, And then I'm also going to stick this ephemera piece in down here. So a little bit of multi-purpose glue on it as well. So I want it all the way out here on the edge. And then I'm going to layer my leaves over it. The stamped leaves, that is. Okay. And let's just poke down, make sure that the gluey bits have touched the cardstock underneath. And then finally I'm going to adhere this one plain flower under the edge over here to finish filling the side of the card. And then let's move this out of the way. I've got some of these little guys, and we're just going to put a dab of glue on and place them around. If you've got tweezers, tweezers can be a great help doing these. And there we go. Our Artistically Inked card number 3. Thank you for stopping in today. If you're in the United States, please do some of your Stampin' Up! Shopping in my store. You can find a link for that in the description below. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with your card making friends. And if you subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell, you'll be notified the next time I upload a video. Thanks for stopping in. Have a great day. Bye.